Okay, so here we are, week 4 in-class work. We're going to create the three-way bout page between our monsters here using CSS and our basic page structure. Hopefully we can work through it all. All right, so I believe I've downloaded it into downloads. Yeah, there we go. Week 4 resources A. Amber, did you get that zip thing figured out? You got it? Okay. Now that I'm thinking about it, extract. There we go. And I'm just going to toss this onto my desktop so I remember where it is. Okay. So here we go in our resources. This is what it's supposed to look like. You've got an example here. It's a little bit bigger. We've got our logo in here. We've got some H1 text. And we've got a beginning of a navigation. We've got 3 monsters and their names that don't resemble anybody in here. Don't know how those names came about and coincided with people in our class. All right. So opening up my first page. I'm going to see if this works this time. I'm going to save as desktop. There we go. Sources. I'm going to save this as week 4 day 1.html and make sure that save as type is HTML. Hopefully it will work this time. It did the last time I tested it. Oh, and it took it off the end. Let's see if this does it.
So we're creating a new
blank document. Yep. And go ahead and write in your basic structure. Once you've got that in there, I trust you all know it by heart. In just a second, we're going to add to our basic template. Can you see that? Nope. Okay, so I'm trying. Control mouse. Beta? Okay. You can shout it out, and you have to because I'm half deaf. So, Richardson, please give us some size there. Okay.
Richardson, hear me!
Hear the people. I'm not. Yeah. Okay. Lest I get derailed. Okay, so we're going to add a couple of things to our basic template. These will go into all of our future documents. Okay. One is we're going to add to our basic HTML tag lang for English. Okay, so this becomes part of your document every time now. So if I say, okay, write a document from scratch, that will go in. Okay.
If that's not in there, we'll probably get marked down.
Well, I'll probably say something. I'll probably gently remind you at first. All right.
You want an nav in there, or a side, or a main?
Not yet. Not yet. Yeah. So basic structure just so far is our invisible stuff and the body tags for visible, and then we're going to add within the head tag is a meta tag. Meta is information about the page so that the browser's got a little bit more context. And that is going to be charset equals UTF-8 is the common one that we use. There are many, many others. These are the character sets that we're using.
Yeah, but UTF-8, that's going to be kind of like the default modern
This is our default. Right. Is it? Okay. We'll try it that way. Yeah, I didn't think it does. Again, I've seen this. I've seen it lowercase and. Okay. You know, we want to make our editor happy.
And if he's not, and if he's not happy, people get fired.
Okay, so there's our basic page, and then we're going to go ahead and give it a title of three-way bout. No, this is the title. So if you put an H1 in the head, it's not going to...
Oh, that's the...
Yeah, this is the invisible stuff, right?
I always think of head.
Right. Yeah, that's why I try and be very clear when I talk about head versus header. Header is visible, head is not. Just to add insult to confusion. All right, so we've got our basic structure here. We've got our first title. Now we're going to create a header in our body, right? That'll be the first item that we make. Usually, this is what? Anybody remember about the visible parts that you're seeing in a website? What? Okay, yes. But what is usually the header part of a website? Usually it's that top part at the top.
Yeah, it's
usually.
the title of your page.
Right. Right. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and in my header, I've got to close it off, otherwise I'll forget. All right, so I've got my opening header and closing header, and I'm going to put in my big monster logo. So that's going to be an image tag, src equals, and I put it in your images, and it should be big underscore monster underscore logo dot png. We'll find out if I'm wrong here in just a second. What does an image always need? Alt.
You want it style?
What do you mean?
Is it going to have like dimensions?
No. We'll just lay it in exactly how it is. Yep. All right, so big monster logo. I'm going to put in as my alt. Go ahead and save that. And I'm going to go, sorry, Jason. I'm going to go and see if this will open. Where are you? Open with Chrome. There we go. That's what it looks like. I'll go back to our HTML page. I wanted to make sure I got the name of the image right. So after my image, I'm going to put in my first H1. That's going to be the title at the top of the page, not the top of the browser window, but the top of the page. And it'll say 3-way bout May 7 p.m. Close that off. Going to do, question? Going to do now an unordered list that's going to become my nav. Right, it's going to be UL. LI is going to be home. Close that off. Contenders. And contact. Boop. All right, so that's in our header. And now I'm going to put in a main section. Header and main act like div tags. If you guys remember that. Main. And we're going to put in there a placeholder for a moment. Pick one. Break. Whoop, break. And then Bradley monster. Okay. And I want to make sure that these two things are seen together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this in a div. Okay? So put this in a div. That way it becomes one block item. Okay. All right. I know I'm going to have to do some work on this div to make it display properly. So I'm going to give it a class, right? It's going to be the same class for each of those three monsters. And I'm going to call that contender. Class contender. So how are you finding the CSS lessons to be in Zybooks? Is it pretty good? Okay.
I've only done the first section so far, and it seems not bad.
Okay.
Though it was not clear about difference between color and background color.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's
Color?
just like
Color is text color.
Yeah, I got it while I was working.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's just it wasn't very clear.
It's not. That's not very clear. That's one of the things I don't really like about that particular attribute, is because it's not clear which color it is. They differentiate the background color.
It was kind of the same issue with the chapter 3 lab that I had.
Okay.
Where it was not clear about these minor specific details that probably should have told us.
Hopefully it'll clarify as it goes. Okay, so I know I've got three monsters, so I'm going to go ahead and copy, paste, and I'm going to have pick 2 here, pick 3 here. I think this was Amber Monster, and this was Alex Monster. Right. Go ahead and save it. Oh, for crying out loud. And then view it in your browser. That is roughly what you should be seeing. Pull it further in. There we go. Okay. Back to the HTML. Okay. Anybody still typing? Okay. Any challenges with the CSS lesson?
I don't like how the challenges make you do one before you do one the next.
Oh.
Because let's say if I get stuck and I don't know something on this one,
Yeah.
then I don't even have the opportunity to do the rest of it.
Gotcha.
And I can see that as a minor issue. I didn't have a big deal about it not allowing you to move on to the next one for the challenges.
Okay.
They have a habit of asking you to implement things that are similar to what they've already introduced, but they haven't introduced this one yet, so you don't actually know that.
Oh. Okay, so
Yeah.
they've got a feedback thing on the page. Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because every time you do that, they've been really responsive so far. Every time I've sent them something, they've sent me back a response probably within an hour, saying thanks, we'll look into it, and in some cases they sent me back fixes for it really quickly.
Yeah.
I haven't actually responded to mine.
Yeah, they haven't responded.
Okay. Okay.
I actually Yeah.
Maybe.
Right.
I actually feel like it is somewhat automated. Which is, yeah, because when I actually did the feedback on Lab 3, it was like, could you send us your HTML file? I did that. I also, also added information that you told about when I contacted you. I relayed that, and it looked like they didn't even look at that. They didn't even look at that. They just was like, oh, here's your issue. This is how you fix it. Okay. And it was just that one specific area where, and they didn't point out that there's kind of like repeat of that in multiple areas. And
somebody did send in feedback and got a response. I know it was you, Amber. Okay. Yeah. So I would say maybe we're having a mixed bag. I've had really good responses so far. Yeah. Yeah, probably. And how much chocolate you send.
How much detail that they add in there. But when I mentioned this on my second response to the feedback, I mentioned that it looks like this is a similar issue throughout all the questions, and the reading wasn't open about that. The immediate response I got is, please send your HTML file so we can fix this. It's like, okay, yeah, this definitely feels automated.
Maybe they said, okay, Jason Petty set to bot. All right, just send it right off.
Can we get a real person? Yeah, can I talk to an actual human being? I mean,
no.
I'm okay with talking to robots sometimes.
Yeah.
Not now.
Okay, so let us create our very first CSS page. All right, so we're going to go up to File, New File, and let us save that as, I'm going to call it styles.css, and save as type. Hopefully I can find it. So there you go, CSS, and it took off my piece there. Okay, I'm going to save it at the same level as my HTML file, just to make it easy for myself. All right, so this will be the page that I'm linking to in HTML. This is where I'm going to define a bunch of the rules on how this page is going to look and be structured. All right, first thing I'm going to write in here is I'm going to add the car set UTF-8. That's going to be my first line. Okay, I'm going to save that. Now you'll notice in Sublime, I don't know what you're using, but in Sublime I've got tabs, just like a browser window. If I go back to my HTML page, I want to be putting this up in my head segment, the link to this, back to that page. And it's going to be link href. This is the actual name of the document, styles, bad spelling, styles.css. Question?
Yeah, here's an order question about this. Does the link have to be after
title? I believe it could go anywhere within the head section.
I'm guessing it is good practice to kind of keep it below the meta.
I've always seen it towards the bottom, towards the closing tag. Say it again. It helps with the page load. Why wouldn't you want to put it up towards the top then? Well, I know that.
Right, inside the head.
But I mean within the head.
The first thing it displays is that title at the top of the window before it does anything else.
Yeah.
It should be first.
It should be before the title.
No. All the CSS has to be after. The first
Yeah.
when you're loading a page, the
Yeah.
thing it sees is the title, it puts it on the top of the title.
So if you put the link before title, it's just going to leave
You aren't
it.
going to notice.
Yeah, you're not going to notice.
Yeah.
It's going to.
It's
Yeah.
the difference. Yeah, it's the difference between okay and good practice.
It's a matter of how fast how fast your browser is, how fast your connection is. Do you want it to start downloading and maybe wait for the CSS to load before it tells you what page you're on?
Yeah, and in reality, that little thing, that little hiccup might be a microsecond. What is costly is actually linking to anything outside the page. So style sheets, images, anything that links to outside the HTML page, every time you've got a link, that's what costs you time. Okay, so link, yeah, so I would keep it maybe just above the closing head tag. That's a good place for it. That's where I always see it.
The only thing you should put after the link is if you've got any JavaScript, you put the script tags after if you have something.
Okay. All right. Have we got that so far? We're good? Okay. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm kind of a visual designer. I like being able to see the divisions of my boxes. All right. And so this is sort of my practice. I like to put boxes around things so that I can begin defining my spaces that I'm working with. So I create a wrapper. Hold on. Back up. Back up a second. Okay, I did not create a wrapper yet. All right, I'm going to go ahead and I'll just put in here, this is an asterisk, and in my braces here, I'm going to type in border, thin, solid, black. Make sure you get your semicolon at the end, it can cause you problems if you don't. This must be a colon rather than an equal sign. That's what most people do to make that mistake. And you've got to have a semicolon at the end of each of those attributes. Right? Okay, so if you save that now, you go back to your browser. Oh, okay, what happened? Miss something? You must have a semicolon. Thank you. There we go. Okay. Okay, so what we have here is we've got a border now around this. This asterisk means everything. Everything. Okay? Now, that is a lot of lines, and I'm actually having trouble seeing exactly what I'm doing here. So what I might want to do is start to piece out some of these parts and apply that line to it just to make it easier for me to see. Okay? So what I might do instead is say header, and I'm going to copy paste that right there. And get rid of that everything line. Maybe I'll put this in the main. Okay, so I just basically copied and pasted. Okay, so border means put a border on it, obviously. This is the thickness or thinness of it. This is the type of line. You can have all kinds of different lines. You can have double lines, you can have dash lines. There's some kind of interesting stuff that you could do with it. What's that? Dotted, right? Right. And then this is the color. All right. Doesn't matter really what color you use. I'm just using it to kind of lay out my page. All right.
The order of those elements doesn't matter.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I always do it in this exact manner so that I don't forget anything. Ah, what a relief. Doesn't that feel better? I think what I want to do is I know that these three items are distinct, I think I might go ahead and put a border around these for the moment. And so that is, well, I could do it under div, all right? If I had a ton of other divs on the page, then it would apply it to all. Maybe or maybe not. Might be a good idea. What I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it on anything that has the class name of contender. All right. And, there we go. That feels better. Okay. You could, yes, you could do that if you wanted to. I'm going to leave it there for the moment. Another thing that I want to do with this page is I want this page to center on the page with equal margins around it. This is done with what they call a wrapper or a container. Okay, I hear it most often as wrapper, and so that's what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to create a wrapper. I'm going to go to my HTML page. All right, I'm going to go down here to, I've got my main here. I'm going to, I want to do this just inside the body, actually. Okay, so under the body, I'm going to create a div, and I'm going to give it an ID because I want to be able to do something with it. You want to do something with a div, you got to put an ID on it most of the time. I'm going to call it wrapper. Could use what?
Just use your main.
I could use my main, but I've got my header above it, and I want all of it to. You could do it twice. Yes, you could do it twice. That would be a different way to do it. Right. I'm gonna do it this way. I'm most familiar with it. And then under the main, this is where I'm going to end my div. Okay, so I basically put all of my visible content within the body into my wrapper. Go ahead and end. Give that an indent. All right. Exactly. All right, so back to, did everybody get this so far? We got the div and everything is in that wrapper, right? Jacob, you look a little confused. Are you with us? The closing div went after the end main. Yeah, good question. So I'm going to go back up to my styles and in wrapper. Now, because this is a div that we've given an ID to, I have to use the pound sign to indicate that item.
So, dot is for class.
Yes.
Hashtag is for wrap, or hashtag is for ID.
Correct. That's right. That's exactly right. Okay, so the wrapper, the first thing we have to do is we have to give it a width. Without the width, the rest of the code for trying to get it to center doesn't make much sense at all. And it won't work as far as I've seen. I've never seen it work without a width. All right. You can put anything in here. I am putting in 800 pixels, px.
So, for that, do we need to emphasize the whether it is pixel or possibly some other form of measurement?
There are different measurements, and I would encourage you to explore to your heart's content. Yeah. Percentage is particularly useful. The relative sizes, like ems, are also very useful because they relate to the browser window, depending on what kind of device you're using. But for the sake of this, I'm setting it at 800 pixels. It should work just fine. Yeah. There are several. I'm going to keep it real simple. All right. So, What's that?
Then if you do calculate, then you can start using the page, the width of the window, and have your font size.
Mm-hmm.
There's some really neat tricks.
There's a ton of stuff, but we're going to keep it simple for the sake of our beginners here. Okay, so margin. We need to give it a margin. That's what is actually going to create that gap on both sides that maintains its consistency when you resize the browser. Okay. Now, here's how I remember what the order of the margin is trouble. T for top, R for right, B for bottom, L for left. Trouble. Okay? So,
Clockwise from the top.
yeah. Or how I usually attack life. Trouble.
Yeah,
All right.
you can use 3 values. That's interesting.
You could use what?
3 values. You can use 1 through 4
Mm-hmm.
values.
Yes.
If you use 3, then the top and bottom are the same, and left and right
Are different. Okay. Lest I confuse you. Top. I'm going to put in here 0 px. Okay, that's the first one. Top value.
And if it's a 0, don't use U.
Don't use a px?
No, doesn't either. It doesn't
Okay.
matter.
Okay. I've never heard that.
Yeah.
All right.
That
Now,
makes
here-
sense, yeah, it makes sense because regardless of whatever
Unit.
form of measurement
Zero.
you
It won't matter.
it's still 0.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've never run across anything that said anything contrary. All right, so left and right value. So top is 0. Right is going to be auto. Bottom will be 0. Can you guess what the left value will be?
I'm guessing motive.
What?
Motive.
Motive.
Yeah.
Okay, so
0 auto, 0 motive. Sounds right.
Okay. All right, so those are the two things you absolutely have to make a wrapper. All right. So if I go back to my browser window,
Save stuff.
yeah, you could. I just wanted to tell everybody about trouble, right? So everybody knows you can put the 4 values in there. Yeah, if you have 2 values, then you've got equal heights, top and bottom. But I don't want to get into that. Just remember trouble. There's 4 values here.
So the
Top
two
right.
autos is what makes the center.
That's right. And if you wanted to decenter vertically, it doesn't work. It's only left and right. That's one of the crazy things about CSS, in that you're learning all of these things. You go, oh, cool, I got all this control over the page. Some of the stuff simply doesn't work.
It actually mentioned that in the lesson that vertical margins merge by default, where left and right do not.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and give myself a background color. Okay, and did they talk about hexadecimal colors?
They do.
Okay.
They cover all 3 different types most use or actually they use the color words.
All right. Yeah, I like that better actually. But while I was building this, it gave me the option to do hex. I thought simple enough. I'm just going to leave it alone. All right, so that is what indicates a color. There's a couple different ways to do it, as we've just been discussing. Okay, this means something to the computer. You don't have to memorize these things. Okay, you can find colors for these sometimes in the text editors that you're working on. Sometimes it'll pop up with a little color wheel that you can use. If you don't find that,
choose, it actually sets one of those numbers up.
right, it usually will set up a hex number. You can find these in Photoshop, in Illustrator. It'll give you these values.
And just break them down really quickly. Each 2 digits, red, green.
Red, green, blue,
Set up
but without a little bit more context. just use the tools. Okay. I would not recommend trying to figure out how to build that. There's tools that make this so fast, it's not even worth it.
It's easier just to get help from a little.
And if you don't want to deal with hexadecimal, you can use
RGB.
and then parentheses, and then you use numbers 0 through 255, 0 through 255. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, though I believe hexadecimal has a bigger variety of color than that.
Everybody got this so far? Okay, we're all good? Okay. Let's just go back.
Okay.
It's still 16. It's more than you can actually see
James?
in some parts.
Did you say something? Oh, okay. All right. Let's skip something.
Please.
Okay, don't do that. Okay, so let's see. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to set a background color for the body. There we go. While I'm here, got my wrapper, go down and set up a background color for my body. You don't need to use a hashtag or anything here. All right, background color, and I'm going to set that to 124173, making sure to have a semicolon at the end. Save that, and we can see what the effect is here. Refresh the page. All right. Starting to look like a web page. Just barely.
So if you have a sample swatch of a color,
Yeah.
and you want to figure out what its hexadecimal code is, could you use Illustrator to like eyedropper select it and then?
I think so. Pretty sure. Yep, pretty sure you can.
There's lots.
It would take me a minute to figure it out, but I'm almost certain you can do it. Okay, let's work on our header. All right, so sure I'm about to be corrected here.
Wait, if we're doing header.
Shut up, you.
I was just going to say, don't we already have a header set up, so can we just add it in there?
We don't have a. Oh, sorry. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, we've got it up here. Yeah.
For consistency,
Mm-hmm.
if you only have one attribute or whatever, like border is
Yeah.
all black,
Yeah.
you've got your curly brackets on one line,
Yeah.
but if you've got more than one, you've got them spread out.
That's not.
It is. This is just for ease of reading, really, to keep that all separated. Yeah, and in fact, this is what we're going to do right now. Is we're going to go ahead and add some attributes to our header. And okay, so. I'm using max height here, people. Okay, actually, okay. So in the past, height often didn't do anything. Min height and max height have been successful. All right, so it's the sort of thing that you bang at it long enough and you use what works. All right, and maybe height is working now. I doubt it though. All right.
Use it, yeah, just use
I'm gonna use min height here and see what my results are. The height value does.
That's the reason it's problematic. Because you set it here,
Uh-huh.
and then it gets recalculated anytime anything.
Anytime that browser moves.
Yeah. your cause anything to scroll or move or anything.
Oh.
So the heights are constantly being recalculated.
Gotcha. Okay. Huh.
There causes the problem that height, if you have an element inside of it,
Yeah.
it's bigger, it's going to stretch. Where your minimum max height
Yeah.
will force it to work differently.
Yeah. So you'll see that there was no effect here. All right. When I go to my browser, because this is taller than 120 pixels. Okay, but as I start to get my elements put in place here, I want to make sure I've got enough space to work in. That's why I put that min height in there. And then if you, just for the sake of argument here, you had a min height of 120 pixels. Let's say you did not want it to go above 150 pixels. You would use max height. All right. And do it that way. I'm not gonna put that in here for the moment. I just wanted to show you. Huh? Oh, does it?
Yeah, it pushes the stuff behind.
Interesting. Okay, I'm taking it out.
We only need mid height. We only need mid height.
Yep.
No need for max.
No need for max height right now. Okay. So then my background color, I'm gonna have 3C6.
You got just background, not background.
Oh, thank you. Okay, 3C6. AA8. Okay, so here's another thing that I want. I'm doing this, what's the right word? Before everything breaks. I'm putting a thing on here called clear both. Because as I'm moving stuff around using my CSS, sometimes you'll have elements start to overlap and it just creates all kinds of weird problems. What I'm doing is I'm setting clear both on here so that it clears anything to the right of it and the left of it, and it'll kick it down to the next line. Okay, it's kind of like a hard return in text. Okay, this is the hard return of CSS. And likely you're not going to see any effect yet. Still working on it?
Just need to stack both.
Gotcha. Okay. Go ahead and save that. Okay, so there's my header color. All right, I can't see much difference there.
It's going to blend very well.
All right, now I'm going to work with my elements within the header so that they line up here. Okay? And don't get me started on Flexbox, Mike.
No.
Not going there right now.
I don't think I care for flex.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to say header image because I only have one image in the header. I know that I can grab a hold of that. And I'm going to say float left. What that means is it's going to float to the left. It's the content that floats to the left. I'm going to go ahead and copy that. Actually, I'm just going to copy this right here. That. Because my next line is going to be header H1. I'll paste it. It'll be the same. So basically what's going to happen is that item is going to float into the upper left, the logo will. The next item is going to say, oh, there's a space beside it. I'm going to float up to the left of that. If there's no space, it stays down below. Okay?
So let's see how it goes.
And now, my header UL. I should have made it nav, actually, to be correct, but it is what it is right now. I'm going to float this to the right. Okay. So does your page blow up? Give it a try. See what happens.
It looks really weird when you don't put the UL in there.
Oh, yeah? Oh, I'll bet.
Yeah.
Don't just float the header itself.
No, don't just float the header itself.
Yeah.
That will cause problems.
Yeah, that list just is not, that list is just trying to merge with the with the header.
Okay. Have we got this? Can I view it on the browser?
Go for it.
You good? Okay. Hey, that's looking not bad.
That
That's what we strive for here at Richardson Co. Not bad. All right. So now, I'm going to do a little bit of work to get things to start lining up. And that is in the, where am I? Okay, I'm going to go back. Actually, I'm going to go back to my HTML. No, I'm going to go to my contender. Here we go. All right, I'm going to add some stuff to my contender. That is the box that holds my monsters and the little name in there. Okay, what I want is I want these things to sit up beside one another. So I want all three of them in an array here. Okay, so I'm going to change the display of these items. Where are we, contender? Display with an S is going to be inline block. Okay, that will allow it to be beside another element. Okay, mostly divs like to be on their own line, but when we change it to inline block, the items can sit one beside each other.
I'm guessing we're needing to add something else in there.
We are going to add a width. Now in this case, we need them to roughly take up a third of the page, but I have found if you set it to exactly a third, a lot of the time it'll just kick down to the next line, and I'm not sure what it's counting there. Sometimes I know it counts the border, all right, as part of the width. So what I do is I'll give it a little less than what I would think. So I'm going to do 30%. Yep. Borders and margins will add to the width. So
I'm guessing the border is, I'm guessing the borders on each side is 1% each.
I don't know if it's 1%, but it's certainly a pixel value. So it's what?
32% works, 33%.
Right. There we go. So I can get all three of those boxes in there, and that's good. I'm happy with that so far. Okay. Let's go ahead and put our monsters in there. So if we go down to where pick 1 was, and we're almost out of time, so we'll just get our monsters in here. So it'll be image src equals, what is it, monster, I'm going to check. Monster 1 lowercase. Okay, so monster underscore 1.png, it's a ping file, alt, I want to say monster 1. Go ahead and copy and paste down here to monster 2. Change that to monster 2. And then monster 3 down here. Oh, sorry. Alt. Say it again. Thank you. Image. Got to go in an image folder. Image. What did I say? Images. Images folder. Does it ruin the whole entire page? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so those of you who want to stay and see this fixed, go ahead and stay. I'll show you how to fix this. That's one of the next steps.
I'm guessing setting the width and height.
All right, so here's what it is, you guys. This is in a div container, right? And what I'm going to do is, because it's an image within the div, I can name this in my CSS and do some fun stuff. And I'm looking for it. Here we go. Okay, so I've got contender up here. I'm going to go ahead and put contender img set my width to 100%. What that does is, because I've got a div that's 33% wide, it's going to try and fit that space 100% within that 30% space. Wrap your head around that one, right? Does that make sense? We just created a space that's 30% wide, and we've told it whatever's inside there, the image, make it 100% of that width.
It's the parent-child hierarchy.
Yes.
Where the 30% is the parent, the 100% is the child.
Exactly. So that's what that looks like now, and that's the code that does it. All right, you guys are free to go. Save this, upload it as day one. What's that?
On the, I went ahead on the UI and the float right.
Okay.
And put all the list items
On one line. Interesting.
in Firefox.
Ah, yeah. Different browser.
Because I'm assuming you're using Chrome.
I am using Chrome.
Yep.
Yep.
A little difference in the style sheets. They're built in style sheets.
Right. Yeah, there's default browser style sheets.
Yeah, there's
And unless you declare something over the top of it, you have to.
there's some preset or the latest are just they just kind of set the things that they know are different and just reset those. So not reset everything, take everything away.
Yeah.
They used to.
Okay. Okay.
Now they just overrate those things that need to
Okay. Interesting.
make them.
I have heard of it. I've not used it yet.
List items are one of the big ones that some of them